All right, me Lex. I got interrupted. Please hold for a second. So what I was trying to say is this lightning bolt hit me, my whole body, and it was just like whammy. I haven't been reading scripture for a while. I was mad at God. I was never like never gonna talk to him. But I just was like I was in such shock. Such shock. Because I've known about this since 2013, what I was here for. And it all makes sense going back to then. So this lightning bolt hits me, and it's like, you've got to read the Bible every day. You've got to know scripture. Somebody needs to know what the F is going on systematically. And I knew if I didn't know scripture, then if you don't know scripture, how could people not know scripture at a time like this?
But in many other respects, the sequence of knowing is the same, from observation to hypothesis to further testing, and all suffused with a wonder at the rich complexity of life, which is a different sort of life to ours.
Okay, so I turned this into a science project from the very beginning. And because my background got trashed, all my credentials got whacked, and with the kind of security levels I need on a system within an organization, you can't touch it with any kinds of records. So they trashed me that way. So, and right when I was doing some good movement too. Um, and then I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I'm like, I'm never working for someone again. I'll tell you that, though. They work you like a damn slave, and they don't pay you, and it's crazy. You're just a number. And I worked for the number one state employer, St. Luke's, programming Epic. So, and that's the beast, okay? That's the beast system. But the beast system requires mad integration to work with it. So that's where you're getting all this bio stuff coming in. And then now they're going to try and it's a method. They'll go through a process, and I'm going to be following it all the way. So I know this system like the back of my hand. But no doubt, all the scripture, all that I put together, that is all from God. That is not from me. All of this is not from me at all. In fact, I don't even know how I know some of this stuff. I was told once, though, by a very admired person in technology. He told me once, "You're the best analyst I've ever known." And coming from him, that was like, made me feel, you know, like I have an analytical talent. That is my gift.
Other disciplines will do the same. The whole process requires humility and patience. It requires an unwillingness to grab at the material or to foist one's own ideas or personality on it. Ultimately, the different modes of knowing suggested by wisdom boil down to what we might call love. Love is a mode of knowing, all right.
Okay, stop right there. In 2013, I started my blog. I named my blog the Love, Faith, Hope Disorder, like a disorder, like bipolar disorder, all these mental disorders. And it was a disorder. It's been disordered. And that's a trinity. That's a trine. And whatever in my star chart that is called a kite, I have no idea, but there's something about my astrological chart too that's very bizarre.
But love transcends the objective-subjective distinction, which has been so inscribed in much Western thinking. In love, the main thing is to admire and respect and celebrate and take delight in the object of that love, to let it be itself, to want it to be gloriously and wonderfully itself, not to snatch it or control it or squash it into another shape. That's not love, that's lust. Is love then the pursuit of objectivity? Of course not. Precisely at the same moment that love is celebrating the radical otherness of the beloved, whether it be a star 20 million miles away, 20 million light years away, or a human being 20 millimeters away, love is entering into a relationship with the beloved, a relationship which is again defined by the nature of the beloved, but in which admiration is mixed with curiosity, a desire to discover more, respect with a longing for intimacy, a desire to know and, so far as it is possible, to be known. What we've seen in the last 200 years of Western epistemology has been the splitting of love. It is, of course, possible to divide up different types of knowledge so that they appear almost entirely different or incompatible. And that enables the kind of knowledge we might acquire in the hard sciences to go steaming ahead unencumbered, producing, please note, not only penicillin, which was, of course, discovered by accident, but also gas chambers, which were made deliberately. It makes great strides, but not always in the right direction. We have a
Did you hear that? Pretty sure he said gas chamber.
1,000 machines for making war, but none for making peace. We have computers and iPhone apps that will make millions of dollars out of a tiny change in exchange rates, but none that will rescue the poorest countries in the world from their plight. We know how to make internet pornography, but not how to repair marriages.
What a messed up statement that was.
Very objectivity or neutrality of scientific knowledge as commonly conceived has played into the hands of the gods we secretly worship. The chief rabbi of the United Kingdom, Jonathan Sacks, one of our great commentators in the UK, says it like this: science takes things to bits to see how they work, religion puts them together to see what they mean, and they need each other. We have run the risk for too long of taking our whole world apart to see how it works, in order that we may make it work to our short-term advantage. Perhaps it's time to allow other perspectives to come into the frame. And for the
Hey, why don't you invite me to this forum so that I can say something?
Christian, of course, the central claim is that in Jesus, the Jewish Messiah, wisdom become human, become a person. Jesus went about bringing precisely that reintegration for which the world had longed, taking upon himself the disintegration and selfish hatred of the world, and rising again to launch the project of an integrated new creation. Modern science, insofar as I understand its origins, began with people who were in themselves quite devout, believing all this, exploring the natural world with respect and delight as the mysterious creation of a wise creator. But the Epicurean split world of the Enlightenment, embraced not least because of the political and social advantage that view is supposed to bring, encouraged a split world of knowledge, a two-track culture in which each side became increasingly opaque or even repellent to the other. And in your country at least, this has got itself hooked up with the so-called culture wars, greatly to the detriment of all parties. I believe it's time to work for a fresh integration. And I suggest to you that the figure of wisdom incarnate, Jesus himself, is the place to begin if we are to discover what that might mean, not only for ourselves, but for the wider world that knows only too well what a divided existence is like.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
The great claim made by the early Christians was not so much that in and through Jesus they had a secret knowledge. Some people tried to go that route, but Paul dismissed it and said that was just the route to pride. Their great claim was that in Jesus they had discovered a larger reality within which their own partial knowledge would make sense. And that larger reality was what they called agape, love. The love of the Creator God for them, and the love which they then found in themselves for the Creator, for his world, and particularly for one another and all others around. Authentic Christian faith, then, is not to be played off against scientific knowledge. Rightly understood, faith and knowledge are both offshoots of a larger reality whose name is love. Jesus himself has, of course, been studied historically from every possible angle. Some have despaired of ever understanding him. Some have even questioned whether he ever existed, though no serious historian makes that mistake. As a historian, I can say with confidence not only that he really did live in first century Palestine, that he really did tell his surprised contemporaries that the one true God was now taking charge of the world in a whole new way, and that he went to his death believing that that was how God's powerful love would overcome the power of evil and launch new creation. And again, as a historian, I have to say that without Jesus' resurrection, I cannot explain why Jesus' disciples would have taken that claim seriously for 1 minute after his violent death. Of course, all this poses challenges for us at the level of worldview, as it did for Jesus' own contemporaries. They knew just as well as we do that dead people stayed dead. But Jesus' first followers not only believed that he really was alive again, but that he had, as it were, gone through death and out the other side, leading the way into a new mode of being in which the power of love would defeat the love of power, in which creation and beauty would win out over death and decay, and in which God himself would become present to and with people of every shape and type, offering healing and reconciliation, a new start, a new life, a new way of life. Sometimes, as in science, as in history, the great leap forward to a fresh hypothesis, I hope some of you will have the joy of that in your academic and professional lives. The great leap forward to a fresh hypothesis happens when you put a new element in the middle of the picture and discover that all the jumbled pieces come together in a new and coherent way around it. That's what it's like when you put Jesus as wisdom incarnate into the middle of the picture. Because it's Jesus, it doesn't happen all at once. He wants us to grow up and take responsibility, to think it through, to be learners, disciples, not just
To tell the truth so you can be set free. How is it? I can't understand it. God keeps trying to, I just don't understand it.
mute followers. But because it's Jesus, he offers